The king ducked his head, shuffled outside his tent, and stared at the far hill that lay just outside his war camp. His breakfast settled in an uneasy stomach. All over the valley, the clank of cooking pots could be heard as men lit fires and munched on bread and cheese. It wouldn't be long now until the shouter's voice came again. The king let out a deep sigh. "How many days does this make?" he asked his aide. 40, sir," came the reply. A ring of guards stood watch around the king's tent. The aide needn't have bothered answering, except his life depended on giving the correct answer to the king. But both the aide and the king knew that King Saul was already aware of that number. "Can you see him coming?" the king asked. The aide squinted, shaded his brow, and nodded. "Right on time, sir." The king grumbled as he slipped into his royal robes and then went silent. His shoulders slumped. "You!" boomed a shout from across the valley. "Why don't you line up for battle today? Or are you too afraid?" All the soldiers in the Israelite camp turned to watch, many trembling. The taunt was nothing new, but the soldiers took no action. They received no commands. There were no orders to follow. There were no volunteers. They couldn't turn their eyes away, and they hated who stood in front of them, but none of them were brave enough to try to stop him. The shouter was a brute of a man, hairy and ugly and foul, scarred and weathered from 100 previous battles. A bronze helmet rested on his head. A massive coat of scale armor covered his body. Bronze plates protected his legs. A bronze javelin was slung on his back. The shouter gripped a spear shaft thicker than a weaver's rod, and his shield bearer stood before him, grinning as he relished the fight. With that amount of armor on the brute, the archers likely wouldn't be able to penetrate his defenses. And with an entire army behind him, swordsmen couldn't rush him. Spearmen and charioteers couldn't get close enough before they would be wiped out. The giant was impenetrable, undefeatable, and no one knew that better than the giant himself. "You bunch of babies," the giant called forth. "Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of King Saul? Let's have a contest for men, same one I proposed yesterday. You choose a man, we'll choose a man. The two men will fight. Whoever wins the battle wins the war. I'll be the man for our side. Who do you have on yours?" He laughed with a long and loud cackle. The giant already knew the answer. No one was going to stand up to him. Jeers and catcalls came from the Philistine camp. The aide glanced at King Saul. "Sir, any reply for Goliath today?" The aide's voice hinted at the significance of the last word. The king ignored the question. "No, there was no reply today. There was no reply yesterday, nor had there been the day before that, nor the day before that." The aide knew this. There had been no reply all week, and no reply the week before that, and no reply nearly 6 weeks ago when this whole debacle started. There was no reply because nobody in the Israelite army could defeat this giant, and everyone in the Israelite camp knew it. No one knew it better than King Saul himself, the tallest, strongest, and most experienced warrior in the entire Israelite army. "So that's a no then," Goliath replied. "Or is that just the sound of birds chirping I hear?" He spit on the ground and added, "You're worthless, the whole lot of you, powerless, weak, just like your God. I defy you, and I defy your God. Until you're ready to fight like men, see you tomorrow, chumps." With that, Goliath and his shield bearer turned on their heels and strode back to their camp. King Saul cast an extended, sidelong glance at his aide. Saul already knew the answer to his own next question even before he asked it. "You've searched everywhere in camp for the strongest fighters, right? How much is the reward up to now?" "Great wealth," the aide muttered. The king and his aide went